Hello, everybody. It's another edition of Region Football Weekly in our Centier Bank Studios. Thank you for making us a part of your Thursday night. I'm Jack Theo, alongside me, Mike Dewan, Zach Zanelli, producing today's show. It's the playoff edition as we are moving even closer to Lucas Oil Stadium. It's sectional championships tomorrow night. A lot of team seasons have ended, but a lot of teams have a lot of promise on that road to Lucas Oil Stadium. And if you joined our show last week, a little bit of a format than shows that we've had previously. No more top 10. All we're going to do is talk about the sectional championship matchups that will be taking place tomorrow night. And of course, later in our show, Mike Dewan will give his picks to win. But for right now, we'll go over some of those games. I believe we only have about 5 or 4, so not too many are left. But the teams that are left, man, can they play some great football? These are a lot of teams that were in our RSN top 10 throughout the year, especially in that top 5. And one of the teams that was in our top 5 for basically the whole year, the Hanover Central Wildcats, will be playing in the sectional championship, traveling all the way to West Lafayette to face off against the West Lafayette Red Devils. Kickoff is slated for 6:30 Central Time. A really great battle. Two teams that faced off each other in the sectional championship. Last year, it was at Hanover Central, though. But the Wildcats did not do good that game. It was the Red Devils getting the win. They won 44-17. And what's interesting about last year's game was both teams came in undefeated. Now, Hanover Central comes in undefeated. In this one, West Lafayette, they have 3 losses on the year, and what's more impressive about these losses is the combined record of those teams is 29-2. That's including 11-0 team they lost to earlier in the year and a couple of 9-1 teams. So this is a battle-tested West Lafayette team. It's the only matchup, I should say last year was the only matchup between these two teams. And the Red Devils, they are led by a star quarterback in Carson Kitchell, the senior. He's been a starter for previous years, but this is really the first time he's been that true starter under center. And he's had himself one heck of a season, including a last Friday night against Rensselaer Central. Threw over 200 passing yards, completed over 30 passes, and also had 5 touchdowns on the night. He also has overall about 2,800 passing yards, 30 total touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. This is his first time playing against Hanover Central, like we said. Only meeting was last year, and he wasn't the starting quarterback. Now, he did get some reps here and there throughout the year last year, but like we said, this is the first year where he's really that true starter under center, and the offense is his. And Carson Kitchell, he's got a tale of two Carson Kitchells, you could say. The kitchen sink, 24 touchdowns, no interceptions, and wins. But in losses, 2 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. So it's going to be interesting to see what Carson Kitchell we will see tomorrow night, just because if it's the Carson Kitchell wins, well, he's unstoppable. What if it's the one in losses? Well, the Hanover Central Wildcats might have a hole that they can easily expose. But he's not the only guy that's playing well for the Red Devils. Dawson Martin, the junior running back, over 1,000 rushing yards on the year and 15 touchdowns. You have Benny Speaker, the junior receiver. He has over 800 receiving yards and 7 touchdowns. He also has 3 interceptions as a DB. You have Cooper Kitchell, the twin brother of Carson, on the year, over 400 receiving yards and 7 touchdowns. The defense has forced 4 turnovers as well. Last week's game against Rensselaer Central, this is a West Lafayette team that is battle-tested, a lot of talent all around. And, Mike, we've talked about how, bus rides can really impact you. We'll talk about that more when we discuss the matchup. But for West Lafayette, this is a team that has played really well at home. They're 4-2. They have an all-around offense. We talk about Carson Kitchell and the way he plays when they do win. You also do have Dawson Martin, who has 5 games with 2 touchdowns or more. So this is a Red Devil team that is definitely going to be Hanover Central's toughest test.
It's going to be a fun one. This might be really the game to look out for, I think, for the week. And, yeah, it's 2 very solid 3A teams that can not only go on to win this game, but probably make a name for themselves further in the tournament. But, yeah, for West Lafayette, like we're kind of saying, I mean, there's no other way you want this. Playing the sectional championship against, of course, a very talented Hanover Central team who's going in unblemished to be at your home base and to have Hanover Central kind of come down and try and take a stab at it. There's no better way to play a sectional championship. And again, we're going to talk about Hanover probably a little bit, but I think West Lafayette, to tell you the truth, is probably the most talented team Hanover has played up to this point. And we're expecting a fun one. I mean, for West Lafayette, of course, you mentioned the players, but it starts with their head coach. I think Shane Fry, 115-22 in 11 years at West Lafayette. That is a very solid winning percentage, and what he has done with that program and the players he's seen in the past couple of years and how he's developed them as turning them from boys to men basically is some of the best in the state from what we're seeing. And again, it's going to be a great head coaching matchup on both sides. But again, this should be a very, very fun one in West Lafayette.
We talked about how the Red Devils were battle tested in their losses. Well, they've been battle tested throughout the year. Their opponents' records are 70-45. That's very impressive, and it gets more impressive when they potentially have the chance to ruin the Hanover Central Wildcat season. It's been another magical season for this team. 2 straight undefeated regular seasons in a row. Last year, things did not go their way in that sectional championship. Against West Lafayette, they lost 44-17. But this is a different Hanover Central team. Matt Kuntz is still under center. This is his chance to really get his revenge. He was the starting quarterback in that loss last year. But this is, like we said, a Hanover Central team. Maybe they're good the last 2 years, but this is a team that's been consistently good throughout its years. 3 straight 11-win seasons with that win against Boone Grove last week. Caden Verrett was a star as always. 25 carries, 304 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Matt Kuntz, who we just talked about, 124 yards, 45 of them rushing and 2 touchdowns. Dylan Bowen, obviously you may know his brother Drake Bowen and Drain, and of course Notre Dame right now. He's making a name for himself. 5 catches. He had, or I should say 2 catches for 24 yards, 5 tackles, 3 interceptions, and a touchdown. The defense forced 5 turnovers, and it's also their 4th straight sectional championship appearance in a row. So for Hanover Central, this is a team that they've played a couple of good teams, maybe not to the likes of the West Lafayette schedule, but still, Hanover Central is one of the best teams in the area. They've got some of the best talent in the area and a lot of senior leadership. And I'm really going to be looking at Matt Kuntz for this game specifically because he was the one who really had to endure probably that loss the most because you're the quarterback. You take a lot of those losses to heart. You wear it on your sleeve. You're the quarterback. You're, captain usually. And for him as a junior to have that loss, I'm sure he's learned from it, and I'm sure he's definitely worked on it coming into this week just because you do not want to relive that nightmare. It's that movie. We kind of talked about it with Crown Point and Lafayette Jefferson when the Bronchos were up 10-0. It's kind of like that movie was playing again, like last year. And for Hanover Central and Matt Kuntz, they don't want to watch that movie again. They want to make their own movie, and that's them with the sectional championship. It won't be easy, but if they play the way they've been playing all year long, it's going to be hard to deny this team.
That's really it. And, yeah, you mentioned the senior leadership. I've saved both squads, and none of them want this to be their final chapter of their high school career. This, again, tomorrow's never promised in playoff football. In this game, it's going to – a lot is going to rely on this game. There's a lot of implications, on both sidelines. You either get a piece of hardware or you go home and your high school career is over for some of these seniors. And it's a terrible feeling, but again, it's the beauty of sports and it's the way things have to go. And again, it's going to be a fun one for Hanover. Again, you got to keep. Again, they got the playmakers. We keep talking about these guys every week. Dylan Bowen especially. Again, that was a fantastic game last week. 3 interceptions in a game. He's a guy to look out for. Of course, having the great family genes. Drake Bowen being your older brother. Notre Dame guy, and it's again there's so many playmakers on both sides of the ball, and it's going to be a fun one. It's tough to pick a winner as of now, but I think I'll have to do so as of late. But yeah, I mean you touched on it a little bit though. It's kind of talking about both these teams a little bit. Lafayette, their opponents' record 70-45, and Hanover, being in the NCC, you think that's kind of a step up of improvement, but maybe it's because they ran through all the guys. I don't know, but their opponent's record is 53-59, so that is a kind of a big difference. I'd say that definitely benefits Lafayette, but nonetheless, we got some talent on both sides of the ball, and we're expecting a fun one, regardless of what these stats say. Yeah,
kickoff slated for 6:30 Central Time. Hanover Central, West Lafayette sectional championship. The winner of that game will face off against John Glenn and Knox. And Knox is a little interesting just because former region.
We got Radke, man.
Russ Radke is the coach of that team. We'll talk about a little bit more later in the show. But for right now, we're going to take a break here on Region Football Weekly in our Centier Bank Studios. We come back, we'll talk about more sectional championship matchups as you're watching this on the Region Sports Network, the only game in town.
Update your kitchen or bathroom with Von Tobel. Get 20% off select cabinets now through October 28th. Von Tobel has cabinets and vanities in a range of styles and colors. Plus, built-in storage, countertops, and flooring. Our designers will help you find the perfect selections for your style and budget. Scan to visit VonTobles.com today to book your free consultation at one of our 4 Indiana showrooms. Von Tobel, building better together.
When life takes you places and you can't get to the store, shop online with Strack and Van Til to go. Our to-go service is easy to use and it can save you time and money. Once your order is in, our own Strack and Van Til team preps your order with care. For delivery or pickup, enjoy the convenience of letting our to-go team shop for you. Enjoy your special moments. Sign up online today at shop.strackandvantil.com.
Hi! Company's Lantern Man. I'll cover your motorcycle. I'll be with you on the water. I'll be with you on the snow. I'll cover your insurance needs wherever you go. I'll be at Crowell Agency from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. As Crowell Company's Lantern Man, I'm your insurance superhero.
Crowell Companies, the insurance professionals in Highland, Maryville, and Michigan City.
From schools to stadiums, hospitals, and bridges, everywhere you look, union carpenters are building Indiana. With jobs and skilled trades in high demand, there's never been a better time to start building your future. As an apprentice, you'll earn a debt-free college degree, earn while you learn, and receive great benefits like healthcare and retirement. So what are you waiting for? Visit carpenters.com to learn more. Visit carpenters.com and start building your future today.
Thinking about what to do after high school? Consider a career with Boilermakers Local 374. As a Boilermaker apprentice, you'll earn while you learn. We offer excellent wages and benefits, and as part of our no-cost hands-on apprenticeship program, you'll learn from the best in state-of-the-art training centers and on the job. Become a union Boilermaker and get on your way to a great career. Find out more, visit www.local374.org or call 219-845-1000.
Have you checked out Centier Bank's student checking account? This no-fee checking account is perfect for students and teens ages 14 to 24 and comes with all the features you need to succeed, such as a debit card, digital banking, and automatic deposit. Centier Bank can help you start establishing good spending habits today for your better tomorrow. For more information, visit Centier.com/student-checking or visit your local branch. If you are under the age of 18, your parent or guardian must also sign on the Centier student checking account. At the age of 25, your account will automatically convert to the Centier checking account. You must deposit $25 to open this account. This account
Back here on Region Football Weekly in our Centier Bank studios. Thank you for joining us. We just talked about our first sectional championship matchup, Hanover Central at West Lafayette. Now it's time to move up to 5A and a DAC rematch. Michigan City at Valpo. This one at the Vikings home field. And this should be a good one just because these are two teams very familiar with one another. Michigan City, on the other hand, has been a hot football team as of late. Now, they did have a sloppy sectional semifinal win. We'll talk about that in just a short bit. But these are the fun ones, in my opinion, just because these teams are very familiar with each other, obviously in the same conference in the Doolin. And for Michigan City, well, things went really south for them in a heartbeat, but things got really up for them in a heartbeat as well. And that was just because of Tyler Bush. Now, if you're not aware, Tyler Bush, during the LaPorte game, he was carted and stretchered off the field, actually. Suffered an injury. I'm not 100% sure what the injury was. Nevertheless, he is okay. Cody French actually tweeted this the next day. He was up, full movement, minimal pain. He went on a college visit with one of his teammates. I believe it was Ferris University, I believe that's the college it is. So he seems to be okay. I assume he'd be playing just because from the updates from Coach French and the pictures of him at the visits, he seems like he is okay. Nevertheless, it was a scary sight, and we're very thankful to see that he is okay. But it was still an interesting game, 6-5. Like we said, Bush he played a great game while he was in there, 5 of 8, 125 yards and a touchdown. Tristan Hart had to come in for relief, and that's kind of when you don't really throw the ball as much. That's where you're just going to go heavy run. I mean, he threw 7 passes, completed 2 for 24 yards. Jaden Hart, 18 carries, 58 yards. This was a very sloppy, rainy game. Nothing was going well for both teams. Elijah Collins, though, he did have 2 catches for 97 yards and a touchdown. They had 11 tackles for loss of the defense, and Adrian Holly, the end, who's just been spectacular this year, had 1.5 sacks. It's the first sectional championship appearance since 2021. Their second since 2018. Look, this is a Michigan City team that's been playing a lot better than when they started the year. They won 4 of their last 5, 4-2 on the road, including that win against LaPorte last week. Obviously not the way you want to win against LaPorte just because you're hoping to beat them like you did in that first matchup. Michigan City defeated LaPorte in the regular season 35-0. Now you have to go to Valpo, a team that you've already lost to once. But like I said, if Tyler Busch is 100% and okay, this is a Wolves team you cannot take lightly. This is an offense that's prolific. You have Tyler Busch, the quarterback, Jane Hart, the Syracuse commit running back, and the receiving room, I think, is as good as a receiving room could get in the region. You have Kyron Hart, the freshman. When do you talk about freshman receivers that often? You have Cameron Bell, Elijah Collins, Benjamin Martin. You have 4 receivers that can really make a lot of plays on the field, especially in the open. That allows a guy like Tyler Busch to really open up the arsenal, and then also allows a guy like Jaden Hart to create some running room, because you can't focus on one thing if you're on defense against this Michigan City team, in my opinion. When you face the Wolves, you can't commit to just stopping the run. You can't commit to just stopping the pass, because they are all over the field with a lot of talent, and if you do commit to one side of the ball, they're going to hurt you with the other side. And we saw that in that Lake Central game. Kind of the passing game was irrelevant, and then they focused on the running game so much. Last drive, that's all they did was pass the ball. They drove down the field. They won the game. And that's what the Wolves have done. We talked about how long is it going to take to buy into Cody French. It's his first year as a coach at Michigan City. And sometimes for those first-year head coaches, it takes a little bit to, trust the process and buy into the philosophy that Cody French is teaching. And I believe in that Lake Central game, that's the first sign we saw them start to play Cody French's style of football. And since then, like we said, they've won 4 of their last 5 and are 4-2 on the road.
Yeah, I think first things first. Again, we have to give credit to, first, we want to thank everybody for giving us updates on Tyler Busch, and we are completely happy that he is okay. That is the scary part about football. It's the harsh reality of how sometimes dangerous this game could be. And again, we're thankful for, the guys on the scene, the athletic trainers, and everybody that, obviously kind of have a clear recovery. And again, we are thankful for that. But yeah, nonetheless, you kind of harped on everything I was thinking about. It was going to that game. It was a sloppy game. Of course, we kind of mentioned that a lot of these teams couldn't really hold on to the ball. We talked about it a little bit with a couple turnovers. The defense is either forced or offenses, thrown and gave up. But yeah, it's hopefully we're penning some better weather tomorrow. Maybe for offenses like Michigan City's to not turn it over too much. I want to say both quarterbacks of City threw at least 1 interception in the games against LaPorte, and then I think there were a couple fumbles that lost away from City. But so I think security is a big one. Of course, we want to see what the status of Tyler Busch is, but nonetheless, someone's got to be in there and be ready to play and go to Vikings Field and take on the defending state champions. And you mentioned, this offense kind of gets things going. We kind of look at their meeting last time, earlier this season. The game got away from City pretty early, but from what I remember correctly, they had plenty of chances to score. And again, I think what killed them is turnovers and them just beating themselves. So they just have to play, disciplined football. They have to, again, I think I've said this the past 2 weeks, but you're playing 2 opponents, especially in playoff football. You're playing the team on the other sideline, and you're playing yourself. And especially when you're playing a very solid team like Valpo, you have to win that battle against yourself. So it should be very interesting. Again, I think this is going to be a game that's going to be a lot closer than what we saw in the regular season. But I think I don't want to sound like a meteorologist, but the weather is definitely again, that sloppy weather we saw last Friday. It took down some of those tough offenses, and especially City, but they got the job done against LaPorte, and we'll see what happens tomorrow.
Well, let's just hope we don't see any snow like we did on Halloween this past.
Dude, or now, man, it's brutal.
Snow in October and early November is never a good sign. But if you're used to living in Northwest Indiana, then you're used to it, or the Midwest as a whole. But for Valpo, this was a team who almost saw their season end in the blink of an eye. They were down 14-3 at halftime against Chesterton. In that first half, they had 2 turnovers. And they really could not get anything going. And we were watching on the broadcast, of course. We had our crew there doing the game. And, the Vikings, they looked defeated leaving that field after that first half when they were down 14-3. And Rick Novak on the Host Connections halftime report said it best. I mean, you got 1 half to keep your season alive.
That's it.
And we kind of talked about then on the wrap-up show was you can't have that first half team come out And because when you play better in teams, they're going to take advantage of that. And you're not going to have that ability to come back like they did. But give them credit. They were resilient, and they stuck with the program. You know, they still played their brand of football, which is hard to do when you're down 14-3. I believe a lot of teams kind of get away from playing their brand of football when they are down, that especially at halftime, especially in high school football. You start to try to score as many points as possible. But Valpo, they're not a high-scoring team. They're not going to beat you by points. They're going to beat you by defense and the ground and pound. And that's how they won that game in the second half. They had 262 rushing yards as a team, only 18 passing yards. Thomas Berta, who's just been stellar since stepping into that starting running back role, 156 yards and 17 carries. Justin Clark, the quarterback, he had 12 carries and 99 yards. Benjamin Farak, the sophomore linebacker, 16 tackles and interception. Ty Veen, one of the better defensive players in the area, the linebacker, had 13 tackles as a whole. That marks now 11 straight sectional wins for the Vikings. It's going to be their 6th straight championship appearance in sectionals when they've won the last 5. We talked about how they play the victor of Maryville and Morton, the game we'll talk about next. But for Valpo, this is a team that I don't know if you want to be concerned about just because they have kind of been one-dimensional in the running game as of late. It's really been Thomas Berta and Justin Clark. They've run a lot of option plays as of lately. And with only 18 passing yards, now we did both say this wasn't going to be a tough game going into Chesterton. They play all those teams tough. But you're going to have to find some of that passing game and to go far in the playoffs. And for Michigan City, you may need that passing game to keep up with their offense. But for the Viking defense, it's as good as it gets. They play their best football against region teams. They're 4-1 at home, and they've won 7 of their last 8.
Yeah, it's looking at being down 14-3 at a hostile environment like Chesterton and crappy weather we saw last Friday. That's a lot of recipes to kind of lay down and maybe again go to panic mode almost. And again, with credit to Bill Marshall, one of the better coaches in the area, he kept his guys cool, calm, and collected, and they scored 28 unanswered and got the job done and on to the next one. But yeah, we look at again. I don't want to keep talking about the weather, but this is a team again with the cold climates, the snow on the ground and everything. These are guys that, okay, they may not have a passing game. We both kind of know that throwing in the cold scientifically is just harder to do. The ball doesn't travel as far in comparison to hot weather, so they just stick to the ground. And those are two guys you don't really want to tackle as a linebacker. Both Berta and Clark, they run hard and they fight for yards. And again, that wears up on a defense. And again, I think the key to this game is you don't want to fall behind if you're either team. Valpo, they'll chew the clock if you fall behind. And City, they'll put you in panic mode real quick. I think they could force some turnovers as well. And I think this game's going to be a lot more close. But it's Valpo again. They've had any success in their sectionals. I know the sectionals kind of got moved around a little bit in the 5A level, but nonetheless, this is where they want to be at home. And again, they've won 5 straight sectionals since Bill Marshall has fully taken over. And it's that I think this team, again, that they show that they can come from behind. They show that they can blow teams out. They show that they could win games close. And this is, again, they got a well-oiled machine. I think they kind of maybe bounce back this tomorrow.
Yeah, Michigan City at Valpo, 7 o'clock start time. It is our game night built by Von Tobel, which you'll be able to view on the IHSAATV.org website. We'll be posting the link periodically throughout the day tomorrow and Friday. So once again, tomorrow, Friday, we'll be posting it throughout the day. Make sure you stay tuned to our Facebook page, and you can find that link for Michigan City at Valpo. And they'll play the winner of Maryville and Morton. I'm going to be honest with you, this is my most intriguing matchup of the week. I'm very excited about this one just because, well, first, these teams have never faced off against one another. And if you want talent, you want star power, you want athletic guys making great plays on the field, well, this is your matchup. This is kind of the game where a lot of recruits might come out and look at them just because there are so many guys on both sides of the ball for both teams that have that ability to go play maybe D1, D2, D3, NAIA. And let's start with Morton just because a huge win against Hammond Central. They won the Battle of Hammond for the second time this year, 52-6. Dontel Harris, oh, man, how good. How better can it get? Yeah. 316 yards, 5 touchdowns. He averaged 12 yards per carry. He also, or I guess I should say total against Hammond Central. I think Hammond Central is tired of seeing Dontel Harris. In the 2 games they played, he had 10 touchdowns and 523 rushing yards. Davir McNair also had a touchdown for the Governors. It's their first playoff win since 2018. It's the first since Morton moved up to 5A in 2021. They've also won 5 of their last 6 games. They're the home team, undefeated at home. In their last 4 wins, they've outscored their opponents 200-17. And you can't forget about Holland Harris. You can't forget about LeBron Hill. You can't forget about DeMario Spence. You can't forget about Freddie Brown. 5-4. Look, their win-loss record is a little shaky just because some people count that forfeit as a win for them. So you can have them at 5-4 and 6-4, whatever your case is. This Morton team is a lot better than their record says. This Governor team just has talent all across the board. You have, like we said, Dontel and Holland. Those two together have been just like Jordan and Pippen. You've got LeBron Hill and DeMario Spence as receivers who are just killing it. You have Jeremiah Jordan as well, a guy who I didn't mention on that line. And, of course, Freddie Brown, another guy who's been dominating the trenches. I'm excited to see this one just because, like I said, 2 athletic teams. But let's go for Morton. This is a team playing their best football. A very rough and shaky start to the year when they actually won their first game. But after that first win, things didn't go their way, and they finally have picked it up. You know, we talked about how earlier of the year they battled Hanover Central pretty well. I'm pretty sure that's the hardest test Hanover Central's really had up to this date. You know, that was probably their closest game, I believe. So this is a Governor team who, look, they're going to score points, but can they play defense? That is the big question for them.
That was kind of the story when, again, a common foe between these two was Hobart and Maryville. Again, that was week 2. But Maryville looked fantastic against Hobart. They beat them. I think it was running clock at one point or pretty close to a running clock. And Morton, again, they got out a substantial lead against Hobart at the Brickyard, and it got away from them. So we don't want to kind of look at common foes when comparing teams. But nonetheless, it's a lot of talent on both sides of the ball, especially for Morton. They're playing very solid football as of late. And, again, they're showing us stuff against Hammond Central. Of course, who knows how well that game gets them prepared for this tough Maryville team. Nonetheless, being at home is great for Morton. It benefits them fantastically. But, this is a very interesting first meeting between the two. For some reason, I would have thought that they've met at least at one point. But nonetheless, again, a lot of talent on both sidelines. And we're, again, it's going to be a fun game to keep tabs on because it's, again, just so much talent. And, again, there's hardware on the line, and it's going to be a good one in Morton.
For Maryville, this team has just been hot as well. They defeated Munster 49-7. They forced 5 turnovers. They held Munster to their first game in single digits all year. Trey Stevens had 2 touchdowns and 5 tackles. It's their 10th straight sectional win. They're now playing in their 6th straight sectional championship game. But the defense is for real. It is stifling. In all their wins, they've held their opponent to at least 13 points. And in 6 of those 8 wins, they've held them to single digits, including that one against Munster last week. We talk about the offense all the time. We love offense. That's where you grab your popcorn, your butter, and your salt. You relax in your recliner and you watch it. But to be honest with you, Maryville is going to go far for their defense. It's legit. I mean, this defense over the course of this year has gone through its ups and downs, especially early. And we talk about how that loss against Crown Point really flipped a switch for them. I mean, other than that Crown Point game, they have a 2-point loss to Valpo. They've won other than that. They've won all their games, and they've won in pretty dominating fashion, and including that one against Munster. But for Maryville, this is a team, again, with star talent loaded all across the field. Dante Pope, J.Q. Johnson, Terrell Elmore, Jalen Ramsey, Trey Stevens, John Peters. You can go down the list, and Maryville's another team with a lot of dudes who can go out there and change the game. And for the Pirates, look, Brad Cease is one of the best coaches in the area.
Yeah.
It's one of the best defenses in the area. We know the offense can get going at any point in the game. We've seen them score 50, 60 points. But we also seen them win those close defensive games like maybe 20-7 or 13-0. It's a team that can win both ways, and that makes them a dangerous team.
Yeah, for sure. It's, again, this team, again, it starts with Brad Cease a little bit. Again, he's been in the experiences of all these type of games, especially with what we're seeing with kind of the streaks they have in the postseason. Maryville, we know, again, that similar to Valpo, this is a spot they are very familiar in and they have had success in as of late. And, again, it's you harped on it. It's the defense, man. They are, offense's box office. That they put butts in seats, but this defense is something special. Again, I think going into the year, we kind of talked about the roller coaster ride of this Maryville team and what's to talk about. But I think from here on out, it's got to be that defense, and that's going to be the X factor of this matchup. I know we'll talk about it probably a little bit later, but Morton, they got the guys on the offense that are putting up fantastic stats, and Maryville, they're stopping those guys with the stats, and it's. Again, so much talent, and it's if there's a time to have a first meeting between the two, it's for some hardware on the line, and we're happy to be a part of it.
I'll be curious to watch the matchup between Holland or Downtown Harris and the defense of Maryville, just because we went into last week talking about Ascadon for Munster, and obviously probably didn't have his best game of the year just because of that line for the Pirates.
Yeah.
I'll be curious to see how Downtown Harris does, just because coming off one of his best games of the year. And it's really going to give the Maryville Pirates some stress if they cannot stop him, because he is one of the best running backs in the area. A reminder, that game will play the winner of Valpo and Michigan City. Valpo and Maryville, they seem to always find each other in that regional championship. We'll see if that's the case, but nevertheless, those are two great games happening in the Class 5A sectional championship. We're going to take a break here in Region Football Weekly, and when we come back, we'll talk about the 6A one between Lake Central and Crown Point. But you're watching Region Football Weekly here on the Region Sports Network, the only game in town.
With electrical services from Economy Electric Heating and Cooling, you can radiate the perfect amount of light and energy into your home. From rewiring and code upgrades to ceiling fans, lighting, security, and more, Economy Electric Heating and Cooling's trained electricians will make sure you can enjoy your home on full power all the time. For a free estimate on electrical work, call Economy Electric Heating and Cooling at 219-923-4441, and you can visit them on the web at 4ajobdoneright.com. That's the number 4ajobdoneright.com.
Develop skills that will last for a lifetime with an apprenticeship with the Bricklayers and Allied Craft Workers Local 4, Indiana, Kentucky. The apprenticeship and training program is committed to developing highly skilled bricklayers, terrazzo workers, and ceramic tile setters to provide the construction industry with the best hands in the business. If you are currently working non-union and want better pay with benefits, or if you think learning a new skill with a paid apprenticeship while you earn your associate's degree is the right path for you, visit baclocal4.org/training to learn more about the apprenticeship program. Are you built to succeed?
For over 100 years, Burns Funeral Home and Crematory has been assisting families in their time of need. Serving Northwest Indiana, the staff at Burns Funeral Home will help guide your family in creating a meaningful ceremony. From a simple to elaborate to traditional or unique, the caring family at Burns Funeral Home will tailor a ceremony to fit your needs. And for your other loved ones, Burns Funeral now has a pet cemetery and crematory. Visit burnsfuneral.com or give them a call at 219-942-1117.
Blythe's Team Sports in Valparaiso is a leader in athletics apparel and equipment sales. With in-house production including screen printing, trophies, embroidery, and more, Blythe's can help you to create the perfect look. For more information, visit them online at teamblythes.com. Blythe's Team Sports in Valparaiso, where the athletes shop.
Back here on Region Football Weekly in our Centier Bank studios, kind of getting the end of our show, we're going to talk about the Class 6A Sectional Championship. Probably the best rivalry of the week we have, Lake Central, Crown Point. It's at the Dog Pound. It's one of our game nights built by Von Tobel, 7 o'clock kickoff. And, man, dude, these two teams have no shortage of playing each other. I mean, that's all they do, obviously, in the DAC Over the last 35 years, Crown Point's led the series 24-15. These two teams faced off earlier in the year at the Burial Grounds, and Crown Point won 38-12. Now, in all tournament-wise, Crown Point leads the series 8-5. Lake Central hasn't beat Crown Point in sectionals since 2013. It was 9-6. It was at the old Burial Grounds where it was all grass. And, man, it's been a while. It's been 10 years.
A little bit.
10 years. They haven't beat Crown Point in
first playoff
sectionals.
win since 14, so
yeah,
there you go. That's also a long time.
Yeah,
so.
Lake Central, they're trying to beat all these streaks, and like you mentioned it, defeated Portage 23-0, their first playoff win since 2014. And I think the better news is Xavier Williams and Chase Kwiatkowski both played. Now, it was Chase Kwiatkowski, the quarterback, but they didn't really throw the ball. They only threw the ball twice. He only completed one pass for 7 yards. The team had 43 carries as a whole. Xavier Williams had 20 of them for 186 yards, 9 yards per carry, and 2 touchdowns, kind of the old Xavier Williams we're used to seeing. The backup, Amarion Brooks, had 11 carries for 51 yards and a touchdown as well. The defense forced 3 turnovers. It was their first shutout win of the year. Lake Central is 3-1 on the road, so they've had road success, including one at Chesterton, which is a hard place to win. So you got to give them, their flowers for that one. The other ones are, I believe, LaPorte, and I want to say
who else he has beaten the deck
at home or on the road. Munster. They beat
Yes.
Munster on the road. So Munster, LaPorte, and Chesterton. Those are the 3 teams they've beat on the road. Their lone loss.
It's no Crown Point.
Yeah,
it's something.
Their lone loss on the road is Valpo. So this is a battle-tested team. I mean, both of these teams are obviously playing in the DAC. Lake Central, huge win for them. Obviously, they've got a huge hill to climb. It's kind of that David versus Goliath matchup just because, look, no discredit to Lake Central. They've got their work cut out for them. And although Xavier Williams is back, he did not play in that first meeting against the Bulldogs, so that will be something to look out for. This is a Crown Point team that just held a Bronchos team to, I believe, 9 rushing yards in 23 attempts.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But going back to Lake Central, this is probably the healthiest they've wanted to be all year. They haven't been healthy all year. Now they're getting the guys back. Obviously, Chase Kwiatkowski missed the last game. He's now back. Xavier Williams, he's missed 5 games this year. It seems to be like he's back. Lake Central is going to need everybody because if you do, especially Xavier Williams, and I think he is the X factor because no matter what your record is, no matter who you've played, if you have a Big Ten running back in your backfield, they're going to look out for them. And we've seen Chase Kwiatkowski. He's been able to throw the ball. He can run the ball as well. So his ability to be a dual-threat quarterback opens things up for Lake Central. Obviously, the explosive running by Xavier Williams opens things up. It's going to be interesting to see how Lake Central looks right out of the gate. This is a fiery team playing for a lot more than just a W, and they're going to have to really put it to the test at Bulldog Park. That's where it gets really hard. I mean, at the Dog Pound, that place is packed. You've been there. You were there last week, actually.
Right. First time.
It's a sectionals. It was only the sectional semifinals. Now imagine you've got a school that's about 20 minutes away from you. That's your rival. Obviously, there's been many stories about how
you could tell a few probably.
How the Bulldog statue just happenly how the head came off.
I've heard that one.
But this is a rivalry between 2 teams that don't like each other. And sometimes you don't see that in sectionals or in the playoffs as much just because you play a lot of teams you're not accustomed to playing. But this is one of those games where it's a rivalry matchup. Sometimes the record might not matter, but this year the record might matter.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. You look at the records 5-5 versus 10-0, and you think it's something. It's probably going to be a washover game. But I truly think this is going to be a solid contest. You mentioned that last go around, Xavier Williams didn't play in that Crown Point game, and LC, being honest, I mean, you and I were, I believe, both there. I think I was on the camera. You were on the call, or you were on the sidelines, and it was. They impressed us both.
I believe it was.
They impressed us both a little bit. It was 38-12, the final score, but it was
13-6 at one point.
I mean, LC again played a team very well without their best player, and it's for Xavier Williams. We just gotta hope he plays. I feel like there's a lot of spurts where he plays a couple, he doesn't play this game, he plays this, he plays that. I think he's a guy no matter what. I think he's one that it'd be a fun one to see him suit up for in a game. I bet he's juiced for it. It could be his last chapter of his high school career, and it's. Again, this is a game, that rivalry, especially playing for a title, it adds something to the game. And for LC, I think, of course, you guys got your first first playoff win in 9 years, but I still think this is a team that may play like they have nothing to lose. I think this is a game, again, looking at the records, they are easily written off with what Crown Point did last week, and of course the other 8-9 games before that. It's easy to write Lake Central off, and I don't think they could do that just yet. And again, I think this should be I wouldn't say a similar contest to the first one, but I mean we could very well see that maybe stay competitive all the way through and maybe give Crown Point some fits. But it depends who suits up. I think first and foremost for Lake Central.
Well, for the Bulldogs, they were able to reverse their fortune. They beat Lafayette Jefferson 42-10. Now, Jay Simmons said it best when he arrived to the game. He was doing color. The fans were excited, but they were nervous because they've seen that movie before. And the movie was almost replaying because the Bronchos, they were up 10-0. They first played a game, a 55-yard pass from Tristan Barrett, their freshman quarterback, and then a recovered onside kick the next play.
Ballsy.
You know, for the Bulldogs, everything's looking down for you. How do you respond? Well, how about you score 42 unanswered points? How about your running back has a school rushing record with 283? Noah Ehrlich only has to complete 9 touchdowns, or I should say 9 passes and score 4 touchdowns. And your defense only gives up 9 rushing yards and 23 attempts.
Yep.
So for Crown Point, that's how you respond when you're down 10-0 at home.
Crazy.
Against a team you lost to last week. This is a Bulldog team that, well, we just say the same things every week because they just show us the same things every week. Dominating defense and electric offense. Larry Ellison, now what is interesting is he's a great running back, but he had his lowest total against Lake Central when they played. You know, if you go back to that game, it was Noah Ehrlich who really had to step up with his arms and his legs.
Right.
Landon Delich had a huge day as well. But Ellison was not able to do much in that matchup. I remember a lot of people came away impressed with Lake Central's run defense, but then Noah Ehrlich was able to get Landon Delich a couple of touchdowns and I believe over 100 receiving yards. And that when we talk about the defense all the time, the Clark brothers, you got Falk. This is a defense is for real. Seamus Mulaski, another guy. For Crown Point, I don't know. What do you have anything new to add to their team? I mean, you were there last week. Is there anything new to add, or is it the same things we have just been talking about week after week?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to sound redundant. Again, they're playing fantastic, and we're talking a little bit about the weather. They had to adjust, and obviously being down 10-0, that's kind of another thing on your plate you got to overcome. But of course, we're going to talk about the coaching. Of course, it starts there. Being down 10-0, it's easy to get into panic mode, and Crown Point just stick to what they did. They kind of turned a little bit more to the run game. Ehrlich, you know, he completed a couple passes, but he did a lot of his work on the ground as well as Ellison. And, those O-linemen stepped up, got the job done, and defense, again, that as a defensive guy, they really impressed me. I think they are probably – I wouldn't say far and away the best defense in the area, but I'd say they're number one.
Yeah.
At the very least, we'll say that. We'll say they're number one for sure. But yeah, they got some dudes on that defense. You know, I don't want to keep bringing up names we brought up for the past 12 weeks, but you guys probably know them already. But I mean, they're a tough team.
It's the same guys every week making the same impact they have the week before.
And it's seniors, juniors, sophomores, you name it, they got it, and it's. Again, they're a fun team to watch. I was happy to be out there again. First time at the Dog Pound. It's a fantastic environment, and I expect the same to be tomorrow. But then I think second time for me seeing that team this year. And again, they are a fantastic group of guys. And it's all led by their coach. And again, being down 10-0 to a team you lost to last year, it's easy to lay down and go to panic mode, but it was that was not the case. And again, they're a tough team to say the least.
What's interesting about Crown Point is they have practice in the snow, but they don't have to because they have that indoor facility.
That's a nice thing to have.
Their Crown Point football Twitter page was posting pictures. They did practice in the snow, so they are getting ready for the cold weather. But they also were practicing in their indoor facilities. I believe they're the only school in the area with something like that. Maybe, but nevertheless, they're able to practice in non-cold but cold temperatures. That helps them kind of be versatile in that sense, just because it's never fun to practice in the snow. You ever practice in the snow?
Funny you say that. My last, remember again, I think you were out of school at the time. You might have been what year was it? It was 2018. It was Halloween.
2018. I was still in high school.
The fall of 2019 Halloween. Okay,
I was freshman year of college.
But it snowed, and that was my last high school practice. It was in the snow. It was a Thursday, and it was. You know, we played a very tough Valpo team that next day that eventually got the better of us, but playing in the snow is fun for a little bit. Then
Yeah.
it's like, oh man, I wouldn't mind if it's like 65 and overcast instead of 35 or whatever. So it's you kind of be a kid again for a little bit, but then kind of that I wouldn't say old man kicks into you, but that maybe 16, 17, 18-year-old kind of kicks in. It's like, all right, let's warm up. But it's again, we'll kind of see how that weather goes on Friday. Again, we kind of both see how both these teams responded to crappy weather like rain. I don't know if we're expecting that tomorrow, but nonetheless, we know that they could both perform well in whatever conditions may present them.
So you don't like playing in snow, is what I'm hearing. You prefer not to.
I mean, I like a good snowball here and there. Like if it snows over winter break, I'll call my guys up and we'll play some snowball.
Okay.
But again, like if you ask me to tackle Xavier
It's
Williams,
not
I
fun
don't
getting a face full of snow.
Yeah,
probably.
I don't know if I want to tackle a guy in the snow. Everything hurts a little bit more. It's tough to catch a ball. It's tough to take a hit.
Yeah.
It's tough to make a hit. So it's fun for about a quarter. Then it gets a little tough.
Well, I remember the old
tough.
saying is my dad would always tell me when it's cold and it's winter and the ice, if you fall on ice, just stay on there. And ice that part you got hurt.
my-
If you fall on like your
Yes,
head or
sir.
something, just lay your head on the
Oh,
ice
great.
and ice your head.
Thanks, man.
I've always heard that one before.
That's fair. I never heard that one, but
You never heard that one before?
it's
It's
common,
ice. I mean,
it's common sense.
the ice-
Put some ice on it. Put some
you
snow
fall
on
on your
it.
butt, just sit there and
You need
ice yourself.
You need a water break. You
Yeah.
take a handful of the snow and you eat it. Yeah,
There you go.
it's I don't know. It's
Did you guys do that on the football practice?
no man.
You
we were-
grab the snow and eat it? While
I didn't think of that until now, but no, we were in costume because it was Halloween.
you were in a costume
Oh
in
yeah,
the
we
snow.
were in costume.
What
Yeah.
was your costume?
Oh man, I don't know if I want to. It was. Do you watch Teletubbies as a kid?
I
Teletubbies. I had a.
think that's all you got to tell.
Yeah, I had a purple Teletubby
Oh, my
costume.
gosh.
I know. I went all out for our last practice. It was yeah, it was a fun time. But for snow, again, answering your question, yeah, it's tough. Ground's hard.
It is.
Everything hurts a little bit more with all the ice around. Nonetheless, it's still.
Yeah.
We'll see. Again, weather again a big part of it. Playing football in November and October.
All right.
We'll see.
I was not expecting us to go.
Teletubby, man.
Teletubby.
Yep. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, also Region Football Weekly, it has Teletubbies, it has ice, it has snow, it has everything
We've hit it all over these past 10
it
weeks.
has
man.
everything you could expect, but we're missing one last part of the
There you
show,
go.
and it's our games to discuss. We're going to do that after the break here on the Region Sports Network, the only game in town.
Update your kitchen or bathroom with Von Tobel. Get 20% off select cabinets now through October 28th. Von Tobel has cabinets and vanities in a range of styles and colors. Plus, built-in storage, countertops, and flooring. Our designers will help you find the perfect selections for your style and budget. Scan to visit VonTobels.com today to book your free consultation at one of our 4 Indiana showrooms. Von Tobel. Building better together.
When life takes you places and you can't get to the store, shop online with Strack and Van Til to go. Our to-go service is easy to use and it can save you time and money. Once your order is in, our own Strack and Van Til team preps your order with care. For delivery or pickup, enjoy the convenience of letting our to-go team shop for you. Enjoy your special moments. Sign up online today at shop.strackandvantil.com.
Hi, I'm Crowell Company's Lantern Man. I'll cover your motorcycle. I'll be with you on the water. I'll be with you on the snow. I'll cover your insurance needs wherever you go. I'll be at Crowell Agency from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. As Crowell Company's Lantern Man, I'm your insurance superhero.
Crowell Companies, the insurance professionals in Highland, Maryville, and Michigan City.
Thinking about what to do after high school? Consider a career with Boilermakers Local 374. As a Boilermaker apprentice, you'll earn while you learn. We offer excellent wages and benefits, and as part of our no-cost hands-on apprenticeship program, you'll learn from the best in state-of-the-art training centers and on the job. Become a union Boilermaker and get on your way to a great career. Find out more, visit www.local374.org or call 219-845-1000.
Have you checked out Center Bank's student checking account? This no-fee checking account is perfect for students and teens ages 14 to 24 and comes with all the features you need to succeed, such as a debit card, digital banking, and automatic deposit. Sentier Bank can help you start establishing good spending habits today for your better tomorrow. For more information, visit Sentier.com/student-checking or visit your local branch. If you are under the age of 18, your parent or guardian must also sign on the Sentier student checking account. At the age of 25, your account will automatically convert to the Sentier checking account. You must deposit $25 to open this account. This account is not eligible for overdraft advantage. Member FDIC.
Finishing up Region Football Weekly in our Sentier Bank studios. Now it's time for the best segment of all our games to discuss. Got a couple of them here. We talked about all of them earlier in the show. We'll start with our first game night in the region, built by Von Tobel, Hanover Central at West Lafayette. Now start time, or I should say kickoff, will be at about 6:30 Central. We'll be live at about 6:10, and you can view that on IHSATV.org website. We'll be posting a link periodically tomorrow throughout the day, so you'll be able to click that link and view our first game night built by Von Tobel, Hanover Central, West Lafayette. This is a good one, Mike DeWine. Now let's start with West Lafayette, the Red Devils. What do they need to do to win?
Oh, what do they need to do to win? Let's see. I think with both teams, I'm just going to kind of sum it up as one, but who can make more plays? They got the guys on both sides of the ball, on both sidelines. It just depends on, again, I hate repeating myself, but it's a battle between two people. You can't, playing good teams in playoff football, you cannot set yourself up for failure. You have to kind of play, I wouldn't say a perfect game, but you have to give yourself any advantage you can when you're playing. One play could determine your season, and it's, again, a play could be set up better, or a situation could be set up better by an action you did maybe a drive before or a play before. And I think it's just whatever team is disciplined. Again, it starts with the coaches. I'd say, again, two fantastic coaches, both over 50 wins and less than 22 losses. Shane Fry, again, has been at West Lafayette and in the coaching game longer, but Brian Parker as well on his way to a very similar record if he stays in the coaching game, for as long as Shane Fry has. So, kind of just looking at both these playmakers, and both the playmakers on both squads, I think I'm leaning towards Hanover a little bit. I'm gonna stick with the region team. It's gonna be. We're gonna see how they respond on the long bus drive. I believe they're at home for the first two meetings of their sectionals, and now they have to go on the road to Purdue Land and take on a solid West Lafayette team. But I think, kind of similar to what we saw last week with Crown Point, I think this Hanover team could be a little bit better, a little bit more poised, and know what they have to expect for West Lafayette. And for winning a sectional championship, so I'm going to go with the Wildcats by a point.
Okay.
Down in West. This is a pick'em game. You look at we got to give a shout out to John Harrell, the Messiah for all of Indiana football and basketball, with what he does for us to help us out. It's we're using his notes basically right here, but he has a Cigarron ratings, Cigarron I believe it's pronounced, but it's a metric that was what, man? It's a metric by a statistician. I was looking up that kind of properly ranks teams by a numeric system, and Hanover's at 68.72, which is 12th in 3A, and West Lafayette is 67.17, which is 13th in 3A. So these are two teams that are neck and neck with each other, and I think we're expecting the same coming tomorrow.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good game. Definitely. Hanover, we talked about how they had the quarterback battle last week with Mark Rowland in Boone Grove. They have another quarterback battle with Carson Kitchell.
They picked him off four times. And they picked him off 4 times.
Yeah,
so again, I think it's defense, as well as these playmakers. You got to kind of force some turnovers, set your offense up for some success. And I think Dylan Bowen's kind of a name to watch out for. Only a sophomore, but his brother knows a thing or two about making some plays in the playoffs, and I'm sure it'll trickle down to the younger one.
And we talked about Carson Kitchell, 24 touchdowns, no interceptions in all 8 of their wins, and in their 3 losses, 2 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, and all those interceptions have happened in losses.
He's got to hold on to the ball. That's kind of a tale of two Carsons. So we'll see. It's again, I think it's two very solid teams, and again, it's going to be a fun one, and we're going to be a part of it. So let's do it.
We'll see on game night in the region, built by Von Tobel. 6:30 kickoff. We'll be live about 6:10. You can view the link on IHSATV.org or on our Facebook page. They'll be posted periodically throughout tomorrow. The next game we'll talk about Michigan City at Valpo. This is our second game night built by Von Tobel. This will be your regular 7 o'clock kickoff. We'll be live at about 6:30 from Viking Field. We talked about a little bit. Michigan City coming off a scary situation with Tyler Bush. He seems to be all right. This is a Wolves team that's won 4 of their last 5. They're 4-2 on the road, but for the Valpo Vikings, they've won 7 of their last 8. They're 4-1 at home. They've played their best football against other region teams. They've had 11 straight sectional games there where they won, and then they've had 6 straight championship sectional appearances. And in those previous 5, other than this year, they are 5-0. But Vikings did have a scare last week, obviously, down 14-3 at halftime against Chesterton. Michigan City had a scare last week, obviously, with Tyler Bush, but also only winning by 1 against LaPorte. Both teams with scares coming in, maybe with a little more hope than last week. But I will say this, if Valpo comes out like they did in that first half against Chesterton, I will not be shocked if Michigan City steals one from them, because the Wolves are a team that you cannot play sloppy against. They'll take advantage of any turnovers you make. When we did the Lake Central game, Lake Central was up 14-0. 2 turnovers, and they scored off both of those turnovers, and that flipped the switch for the Wolves in that victory. That could maybe be the case here. Valpo turned the ball over twice in that first half. Now, Chesterton was able to score on it, I believe, once. I think they scored on a non-turnover. But for Valpo, it's going to be interesting what type of team you get, because they can run the ball, but can they pass the ball?
Yeah, again, they've shown that they don't really need to pass the ball.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's a big indicator of how this game's going to go. I really think they could probably hand the ball off, 9 plays out of 10, and they'll be just fine. But it's, both teams you mentioned kind of faced the scare last week. But I think scares are okay if you come out on top and they're learning experiences of what not to do in the first half, or whenever you were kind of, being sloppy a little bit, how to respond to adversity and win a close one. And I think Valpo, we kind of talk about these environments that teams are acclimated to in Valpo. It doesn't get much more familiar than this. Playing a sectional championship, being at home, again, going for their 6th straight sectional championship, I think 5th under Bill Marshall. It's a team that's battle-tested and playoff-tested is a way to put it. And I think this game will be closer. Again, it kind of depends on how City recovers from last week. And, of course, again, as thankful as we are for the recovery of Tyler Bush, I do want to see who is under center come Friday night. Yeah. And I think he's a big leader for that team. He's a senior. He's a 3-year starter, and he's a guy that, kind of wants to be the driving force. He's the guy to rely on when times get tough, and he's a senior leader that, this means a lot to him, a little bit more than him just being a senior, and that could be his last chapter of his high school career. But nonetheless, I think this game gets a little bit closer than our previous meeting at Valpo between the two. But I think Valpo, again, being a bit of familiar territory, no matter how cold it is, they're going to run the ball, and I think that benefits them tremendously. And I think they win their 6th straight sectional championship at Viking Field.
All right, and the winner of that game will play the winner of this game, Maryville at Morton. 7 o'clock start time. Well, for Morton, I guess I should say, 5 of the last 6 games they won. They're undefeated at home. They've outscored their last 4 wins, 200-17. Both teams have a lot of great players all over the football field. First meeting between these two teams in the history. Against common foes, Maryville is 2-0. Morton is 1-1. So Maryville has beaten a team that's beaten Morton before this year. For the Pirates, the defense is as legit as it gets. I would say it's the second best defense in the area behind Crown Point.
I agree.
They showed it last week against Munster. We talked about how in all of their wins, they've held opponents to at least 13 points, and the 6 of those 8 wins were by single digits. Obviously, everyone's been looking at the bracket and assuming it's going to be Valpo and Maryville, but I am not sleeping on the Governors. I think this is a team that has the players to get an upset win like this.
Yeah.
They've played their best football at home. They're playing their best football right now. Dontel Harris is as good as a running back can get in the area. Holland Harris is one of the best dual-threat quarterbacks in the area. You've also got Jemiah Jordan, Freddie Brown, Demario Spence. For Maryville, their hands are going to be full, but if they are going to win this game, it's not going to be in a shootout. It's going to be in a defense battle.
Yeah, that's the X factor. I think this game, Morton's high potent offense, of course, Dontel Harris and LeBron Hill and all the guys they got over there versus Maryville's defense. And I think, again, I think this is going to be a fantastic first meeting between the two schools, but it's different football on the deck. And what we kind of see with these, sometimes we see a lot of NCC teams, maybe in those first 2 weeks play up to the deck, and it's it's usually the same result. The DAC gets the best of them, and Morton being in the GLAC, I think it's no difference. I really like this Morton team and what they've done this year, and quite a turnaround from seasons past. But I think Maryville, it's just a tough battle. I know Morton did beat a DAC team this year, did beat Portage, the first Hammond school to beat a DAC team since the 80s. But it's I think Maryville is not too comparable to Portage, and I think that benefits Maryville. And I think, again, a team that's in familiar territory. They are, again, 6th straight sectional championship. I'm pretty sure they've won 5 straight. If not, they've won the majority of them. And I think it's fate again for Valpo and Maryville to meet again and have another chapter to that. But I think it's going to be closer than some expect. I still think Maryville kind of gets the job done, and I think their defense prevails in that X factor. But again, I do like this Morton team, but I just think Maryville is just a little too much for them.
Well said. Now we'll move to.
Thanks.
Now we'll move to the 6A Class Sectional Championship. It's our game night built by Von Tobler, our third one at the Dog Pound. 7 o'clock kickoff, 6:30 will be live. Rivals going at it. This is going to be another good game because, look, as a former Indian, I'm very excited to see this one just because Lake Central always is the underdog and Crown Point are the big dogs, obviously. And for Lake Central, this is a team that they're getting healthy at the right time. You know, they really have not been. I think the only time they were healthy were their first 2 games of the year. Was when they had, or the game against Munster, and Providence Catholic. Other than that, they've never really been that fully healthy of a team. Now, go back to Michigan City and Chesterton, then they were healthy. But other than that, you know, this is a team that's missed some guys. They battled some injuries. And now it seems like they're finally getting back to where they were week 1 against Munster when they had that dominating win. But you can be as healthy as you want. You can be playing your best football as you want. But when you have the big, bad Crown Point Bulldogs, it might not matter who's on the field.
Right. Well said. That was good. No, yeah, you're right. I think this was a team that was really looking forward to that round 1 bye week.
Yeah.
Being in the 6A, of course, you get that bye week. And again, it's great to see Xavier Williams and Chase Kwiatkowski back, although we saw a typical Xavier Williams, you know, that rain kind of stuffed both arms and legs of Chase Kwiatkowski, so we'll see what he does this week. But again, the big bag dog of Crown Point, I hate to kind of say that about your alma mater, but it's a tough
one.
one.
Picked against them last week.
Yeah, you know, that was again, they showed me a lot last week. Again, it was a game that, of course, I picked.
A trap game, maybe.
I thought it was, man. Again, this was a team that they kind of showed all the signs of, you know, it depends who was going to be back for LC and how they would just respond to, you know, having the bye in a Portage team that had nothing to lose, but they proved me a lot. Lake Central did, and again, I give credit to them for proving me wrong, but they're gonna have to try and do it again. I think Crown Point, again, the writing's on the wall. This is a team that is looking for some hardware and to kind of make another step. You know, that we were kind of looking at the recent years, and they were a team that didn't have too much hardware in terms of postseason success for Crown Point, and they're looking to kind of make a name for themselves. Again, I think this is pretty similar to the 38-12 game. Again, a game that was pretty close in the first half, even in the third quarter. I think the game could even be a little bit closer, but I think Crown Point's shown that they can come back from deficits, and they have the playmakers to kind of always keep them in these games, however the script goes. But I think this is the favorable script for Crown Point, being at home, being in a familiar environment, playing your rival, and it'll be a juiced-up game on both sides. But again, I think Crown Point finally gets a little bit more hardware in their trophy case and adds to that collection. You know, get some postseason success for Coach Buzia, and again, we'll see. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if LC makes just a 1-score game in the fourth quarter, or who knows, even walks away with the dub. It's one of those games where it could swing both ways, and it's a rivalry game, and you know, guys are going to be juiced up no matter what. So it's a fun one. And again, we're always happy to be a part of it.
Yep, Lake Central last time they beat Crown Point in sectionals 10 years ago. The score was 9-6 at the old burial grounds. Yeah, it's been a rough patch for Lake Central when it comes to sectionals, and you know, we talked about it. 2014 was their last one, but then they beat Portage for Crown Point. They had their struggles as well, and I'm curious. I think I'm more impressed by this team the way they respond against the Bronchos, because you're down 10-0 out of the gate. You let a freshman quarterback throw a 55-yard touchdown, and They said, okay, that's cool. They score 42 unanswered points and have school record performances. You know, it impressed me more of the Bulldogs. You know, obviously we talk about the same thing every week. They dominate, they win. End of story. Well, they just keep finding new ways to really impress us and to show us that they're better than last week. And I thought that's what they did this week, because we haven't really seen this much of a deficit since that Valpo game. And, you know, that was a close game. It was, I believe, only a 5-point win. You know, when you're down by 10, I believe they didn't even score until late in the first quarter, or even if they did, I mean, to score 42 unanswered points against a Bronchos team who has had a stifling defense over the years. They had 2 shutout wins going into that matchup. That just speaks to how good this Crown Point team is. And, I mean, with all those sectional struggles they've had and how much hardwire they should have compared to the actually have, I'm sure that lights a fire under them, knowing that maybe they should have won it last year, obviously, or years prior.
Right.
And I think for Crown Point, the last thing they want is not to win another sectional championship due to probably their biggest rival in the Lake Central Indians.
It'll be fun, man.
It is.
It's again, DAC opponents. You know, these guys probably, I wouldn't say hate each other. I don't want to throw that word around, but dislike each other.
They don't like each other, no.
They want
to win. You do not want to lose to these
Again,
teams.
this is the big chapter of your high school career for both sides, again, especially as a senior.
Yeah.
You don't want to go out to your town mate, basically. Well, I wouldn't say town mate, but somebody neighboring town, I guess, is guys that you're probably at least familiar with. You know, maybe growing up together or just kind of being in very neighboring school systems. And it's going to be a good one, I think. I really, truly think so.
To view all these scores and some other scores happening in Indiana, make sure to follow our hometown scoreboard courtesy of our friends from Strack and Van Til. You'll be able to view that on our YouTube and Facebook page. We'll have all the scores up to date, and you'll be able to view those. If some of the games that we're not covering, we are doing 3 games tomorrow night. 3 game nights built by Von Tobel. The first one's going to be Hanover at West Lafayette, 6:30 kickoff. About 6:10 we'll be going live from there. And then, of course, we'll have Michigan City at Valpo. That's your regular 7 o'clock kickoff. We'll be live at about 6:30. And then Lake Central at Crown Point will be live at about 6:30, 7 o'clock kickoff. We're getting really deep into the season, you know. So as you know, someone really smart once told me and always says, it's another week. It's another week in the books.
You stole my line, man.
You know, these teams these are big games now. It's a section. It's for hardware now.
That's it, man.
You know, maybe the weeks past they were for just to advance, to keep your season alive. But now it's hardware that you hang up and that maybe you bring to like the pep rallies and the school assemblies. So
everything.
As a great coach, Eric Taylor once said, "Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose." And we'll see who survives after this sectional championship week. Any final words?
Yeah, you stole my lines, man. Thanks. But yeah, the field gets smaller. Let's write some history. That's really it. Again, it's I kind of said everything I did last week, but yeah, you
didn't make the shirt, yeah.
No, not yet. We still got a couple weeks left of this, I think. But yeah, it's the beauty of it, you know, for the seniors out there. If this is your last, you know, I don't know how to word this, but it's just the beauty of it. It's you have to going through losses. It's, you know, it's just such a huge game for both sides, no matter what.
Yeah.
Again, we talk about rewriting the history for whatever teammate comes out on top, and then, you know, if you're unfortunately on the other side of things, it's a tough one to swallow. It's a tough feeling even really talking about it, especially as for those seniors out there that have probably given all they've got for their respective programs or whatnot. It's, again, those are guys you go to, I don't want to say go to war with, but it's a game where, again, everyone's got to kind of be on board, and you're willing to kind of put your body on the line for a game like football. And I feel like it's kind of a feeling that you can't really understand unless you're a part of maybe team sports or even just football alone. It's kind of an incomparable feeling where, you know, you almost want to buckle up one more time and play one more game with your guys. And it's just the way playoff football goes. Some teams, you know, a lot of teams have to go through it, and there's only a select few that can kind of ride their way all the way to Lucas Oil and finish their game on top. But that's what we're here for. That's that the field gets smaller, and we'll see how it gets smaller tomorrow.
We'll have the Quintel kickoff show for everybody around 5:30 on Facebook and YouTube. That will be live. And then we'll be ready for our 3 game nights built by Von Tobel. Where can you view that link? Well, it's going to be posted periodically through our Facebook page tomorrow, and it's going to be on the ihsatv.org website. Remember, it's going to be posted periodically throughout our Facebook page. We're doing 3 game nights built by Von Tobel, Hanover Central at West Lafayette, Michigan City at Valpo, and Lake Central at Crown Point. Just a reminder, special start time for Hanover Central at West Lafayette. It's going to start around 6:10, kickoff for 6:30. But that's going to wrap it up here on Region Football Weekly. A big thank you to our executive producer, Chris Ramirez, our operations manager, Rich Castillo, our producer for today's show, Zach Zanelli, of course, Mike Dewan, always sitting beside me. But we hope to see you all tomorrow. Have a great Thursday night. This is it for the Region Football Weekly show in our Centier Bank studios. You're watching us on the Region Sports Network, the only game in town.
With electrical services from Economy Electric Heating and Cooling, you can radiate the perfect amount of light and energy into your home. From rewiring and code upgrades to ceiling fans, lighting, security, and more, Economy Electric Heating and Cooling's trained electricians will make sure you can enjoy your home on full power all the time. For a free estimate on electrical work, call Economy Electric Heating and Cooling at 219-923-4441, and you can visit them on the web at 4ajobdoneright.com. That's the number 4ajobdoneright.com.
Develop skills that will last for a lifetime with an apprenticeship with the Bricklayers and Allied Craft Workers Local 4, Indiana, Kentucky. The apprenticeship and training program is committed to developing highly skilled bricklayers, terrazzo workers, and ceramic tile setters to provide the construction industry with the best hands in the business. If you are currently working non-union and want better pay with benefits, or if you think learning a new skill with a paid apprenticeship while you earn your associate's degree is the right path for you, visit baclocal4.org/training to learn more about the apprenticeship program. Are you built to succeed?
For over 100 years, Burns Funeral Home and Crematory has been assisting families in their time of need. Serving Northwest Indiana, the staff at Burns Funeral Home will help guide your family in creating a meaningful ceremony. From a simple to elaborate, to traditional or unique, the caring family at Burns Funeral Home will tailor a ceremony to fit your needs. And for your other loved ones, Burns Funeral now has a pet cemetery and crematory. Visit burnsfuneral.com or give them a call at 219-942-1117.
Blythe's Team Sports in Valparaiso is a leader in athletics apparel and equipment sales. With in-house production including screen printing, trophies, embroidery, and more, Blythe's can help you to create the perfect look. For more information, visit them online at teamblythes.com. Blythe's Team Sports in Valparaiso, where the athletes shop.